So, good evening, everyone. I am Sanskriti Mehta, and on behalf of the entire team of MSCNM, I welcome you all to this session. So, what does MSCNM stand for? MSCNM stands for the Mathematics and Statistics Cell of NM College. We at MSCNM hope to make people aware about the wonders of the field of mathematics and statistics and to make them know about the intriguing aspects about this world. And we hope to do this by today's session and all of our events and all of our sessions. That is why we even chose this subject for our session today. The topic of our speaker session today is financial modeling. And our speaker for this session is Mr. Havish Madhwapati. Let me tell you a little bit about him. So in short, Mr. Havish is an author, he's an entrepreneur, he has his own consulting firm, Havish M Consulting. He has written over 20 books. He's an MBA gold medalist and scholarship awardee. He's a Microsoft Specialist Master. And he's conducted various such guest speaker sessions on Excel and analytics and other such subjects in IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Calcutta, IIT Jodhpur, and many other such universities. He's also written many articles for sites like Medium, etc. So I guess I've given a good enough introduction about him. So now without further ado, I would like to let him start speaking. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today and conducting this workshop. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Let me share my screen. All right, so we have an hour, and the way we are planning this is that questions can be asked during the session as well, and you can ask me at the end of the session as well. But if you have something immediately that you want to ask on the, with regard to any of the topics that I'm covering, please feel free to do so. Do not wait till the end because we might fall a little short of time. I still want to give a little bit of background in terms of what I do, in addition to the introduction that has already been given, because I would like you to understand what area of modeling do I work in, right? So it's very easy to say that I work with PwC and EY and D. Shaw, but at the same time, the work I do is a little non-traditional, right? And that is what I would like to explain to everyone. So I run a proprietorship firm called Havish M Consulting. What we do is automation, spreadsheet modeling, data visualization for various clients. In terms of the clients that I work with, you can see that it's a very wide assortment. So it's not one sector or one industry or one function. I do a lot of work with the energy and power sector. So I work with Adani, Sterlite Power, and IndiGrid. In my engagements with the Big Four, I work with PwC, EY, Deloitte, and I do a lot of work with D. Shaw for their financial operations team, both in Delhi, in Hyderabad, and in New York. And then there are other clients from different sectors. There is no pattern here, so I work, from everything which is a CPG brand to an energy and power company. So any company that requires any form of modeling and automation is a prospective client of mine. I've also done a lot of government work. So I worked with different ministries in the government of India. I worked with SEBI on some very large projects. I also teach at various business schools. So I have taught at 15 of the IIMs, the top 8 IITs. And the sort of engagements that I have with colleges is lectures like this one. I obviously do workshops, so 12-hour, 16-hour workshops with them. That is 80% of what I do, which is 12 to 16-hour workshops. And then, of course, I judge a lot of competitions. I have students doing their live projects with me, doing their internships with me. All of these details are on the website. If you're interested, you can go and have a look. In terms of the technologies that I work in, most of my work is in Excel. So I would say about 60% is on Excel, another 20% is on Power BI, and the balance 20% is split between different languages and platforms. So I do some work on JavaScript, we do some data science work, we do some data visualization on Tableau. But predominantly 80% of my work is between Excel and Power BI, right? If time permits, I will also give you a little bit of introduction to Power BI today, if time permits. I have written 20 books. I've been working on Excel for over 18 years. I'm a 40 under 40 in analytics for my work done in Excel Visual Basic. And I was also awarded Indian Achievers Award last year. Okay, so with that out of the way, so a disclaimer right at the onset, I don't come from finance, okay? So I'm not going to talk to you about finance per se. I'm not the right person for it. But then I do a lot of financial modeling work. Now, does that sound very odd that how can I say that I'm a BBA in marketing and an MBA in marketing and I'm doing financial modeling work? So I work in financial modeling and I help organizations build better models as a technical consultant, right? Because financial models are the bread and butter, right? For anybody working in finance, and Excel is the de facto tool that we work on. So while there are other platforms that we work on, Excel continues to be and will continue to be the number one tool where we do all of our modeling work. And my expertise comes not from financial modeling, but my expertise comes from the tool. I am really, really good with the tool, right? Excel is what I live and breathe, and I continue to work on it. And Excel is where I am, that's my T learning, which basically means that's my core area of expertise. Now, in terms of what is financial modeling, I don't really want to get into details here for a number of reasons. One is we don't have the time. Two is that I'm not the right person to talk to you about what is financial modeling. I'm the right person to give you demonstrations of how models are created and what are the things that you should keep in mind, right? And number three, in any case, you can read all this on the internet. So rather than me telling you from my experiences, you will find a wider variety of in-depth articles and resources available on the internet. This is one link that I really like, which I'm going to share on the chat window. I'm not sure if the attendees have access to it or not, but okay, doesn't matter. I'll send it to you later. See, the concept of financial modeling is that it's not just meant for finance guys. That's what you have to understand. First things first. So I might be a project manager, I might be a product manager, I might be working in HR, and every once in a while, I might have to work on a P&L, right? So for example, if I am a business unit head, right, or if I'm the sales head, I do have to handle a P&L, right? Because if I am heading a strategic or a sub business unit and I have to handle a team of 50 people, then I'm accountable for my own profit and loss, right? Which gets added up, aggregated at the organization level. So the first thing you need to understand is that finance is not only for finance managers. Finance is for everyone. That's why there are so many courses nowadays talking about finance for non-finance guys, because everybody has to learn a little bit of financial modeling, right? So while a non-finance guy might not need to work very in-depth in it, they might still need to have a broad understanding. Anyway, the link is really good. I would like you all to go through it. Most of my work happens in FPA, which is financial planning and analysis. So I work with organizations where there are budgets and the budgets have to be consolidated. We have to track what is the achievement, what is the gap, right? Of course, there are many other aspects that come into it. So one would be using VBA. So VBA allows you to make a better financial model because you can automate tasks, which is again something I'll be displaying to you. Also, in terms of how we focus on the formatting, layout, and the design, I want to talk about how to deconstruct some existing reports available in the market, and also how to look at the FAST standard, which are some standards available. Like you have the GAP standards, which are for accounting principles. We also have a FAST standard. In terms of what all we do with it, I think most you guys would already be aware of. So we work on our financial statements, we work on merger and acquisition, we have forecast, discounted cash flow, right? We have company analysis, which is a comparable company analysis, ALM, sum of parts, right? All of this I don't really want to get into. I want to focus more on the technical side of it. So I have already prepared a couple of examples, and let me start with that. All right. First things first, you have to understand that financial models will always be created on Excel, okay? Anybody who comes to you and says that, no, Excel is dying and there are better tools and there is data science and there is programming, it doesn't make any sense, right? Because models cannot be created on Tableau or on Power BI, right? A financial model cannot be created on Python or on R. I can use Python and R to improve my model, to make it more robust, to automate it, to reduce errors, but I still have to create models on an Excel file. Okay, let me get that out of the way. So the examples that I want to take is number one, I want to talk about stock history. So we already have a stock with us here. Let me just write it one more time, if you don't mind. So I'm writing Tata Motors here. I want to find the stock history from 1st of January till 1st of April. And there are certain conditions that I have kept here that the change between open and close should be more than negative 25% and the open should be more than 100. The second example will be on a bullet chart. So what we have here is 5 business units. So we have BU 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have the inflow and the outflow. Inflow and outflow could be anything. It's just consider this as something coming in and something going out. And we want to make a bullet chart here. A bullet chart is a very common visualization in financial modeling. It's a staple. This is something we use all the time, like this, right? Where there are different milestones. And while you can use it for other functions as well, finance is where this is the most appropriate, right? The bullet chart. After this, I want to cover a very simple matrix calculation. So I want to do a little bit of scenario analysis where I want to talk about different customers that I have, and we have the value for the previous year, and I want to create a target for the next year, forecasting, right? Then I also want to talk about the addition of new codes, right? So when you work in finance, you work with SAP, right? Obviously. And when you're working with SAP, especially in financial planning and analysis, it's very common for you to have the need of finding out additions. For example, if I have GL codes with me, which are general ledger codes, if I have GL code, I might want to understand how many GL codes have I added in the last month. If I have suppliers, I might want to understand how many suppliers and vendors have I added. See, now finance is not core finance, right? Because now you have things like techno-commercial profiles, right? Or techno-finance profiles. So the idea here is that this is a congruence of different functions coming together. So you might have somebody from bidding and supply chain and finance working together. You might have somebody with finance, maybe an MBA in finance, who's working in a technology profile. Like a very close friend of mine, he's working, right now he has shifted to HCL, but he was working with Sterlite Power earlier, which is a part of the Vedanta group. And his name is Somideep Paul. He's a IFT pass out. And Somideep was in a very interesting profile at Sterlite. He's a MBA finance. He's an engineer who was an MBA, who did an MBA finance from IFT, and then ended up picking up the role of a chief manager digital. So he was in digital transformation. So he was reporting to the CFO, but his role was a technology role. So he was handling automation requirements. So he was handling a deployment of Automation Anywhere, which is the world's largest RPA provider, right? So Automation Anywhere is the largest automation provider in the world. And that is what he was handling for the client. So he was enabling finance teams to be able to automate their work, right? So that traditional thought of, okay, finance will have this area in it, that is not true anymore, right? There are a lot of newer areas that are coming in finance. So since you guys will be applying to jobs a little further down the line, just keep that in mind. I want to take another example from a project management perspective, because again, project management has to work very closely with finance. It's a very simple looking data, but the requirement is quite interesting. So I work a lot with energy and power companies, right? For example, right now I'm doing a 1.5 month project with Adani Transmission. So Adani Transmission has substations and electricity towers. So they had this problem for me, right? And I was trying to solve this for them. They said that we have different location and each location has different towers in it. These towers are the large electricity towers that you see. And they wanted to combine everything. So they wanted to combine 1, 2, 3 in one cell. They wanted to combine 4 and 5 in one cell, 6, 7, 8 in one cell, like that. So basically every time the location is repeated, the tower should come with a comma separated value, right? And finally, I want to talk about data cleaning. So if you look at the lines of services at Big Four, there is something called FIDS, right? Which is forensic investigation. So there are these, there's a completely different line of service at the Big Four. So you have indirect tax, consulting, assurance, all of that is there. But then you also have a newer small line of service called forensic investigation and dispute settlement, right? If you haven't heard of it, I don't want to get into detail. You can Google it later. But the idea here is that these are people with finance backgrounds who are not really responsible for creating models, but are responsible for doing forensics, right? To understand patterns in the data, to look at discrepancy in the data, to basically clean data, to do data preparation. So, for example, I was working on a project with Deutsche Bank, and they had some discrepancy in their numbers, right? So we had to go through 10 crore transactions, and we had to find out if there is any irregularity that was coming there. So you can imagine the volume of data that we are working with, right? And you obviously can't do such things manually or by building a formula. You need to have more robust tools doing all of that. Right? Okay. So with that, by the way, I just want to pick the first example and start right away. Now, first things first, what I'm going to show you might not work on your version of Excel. So you need to have the latest version of Excel for these things to work, okay? There is only one version of Excel, which is Microsoft Office 365, okay? Office 2021 is not the latest and will not have all the features. This is very important. 2021 was just released in October. And if you're out in the market trying to buy this, remember, this is not the latest version. The latest version is only Microsoft 365, which will have all the features. This will cost you 489 rupees plus taxes per month, or 4,899 per year. If you don't have this with you, please get it. No excuses, right? When you're applying for an interview, nobody cares if you were given this version by the college or if you had to pay for it. It's 500 rupees. You can definitely spend 500 rupees a month. And if you want all the latest features in Excel, you need to have this, right? But if you don't have it, then in all likelihood, what I'm going to show you today, some of these things will not work on your computer. Just keep that in mind, okay? The first thing I want to do is to show you stock history. Now, this is again a classic problem where for any comparable company analysis that you have to do, you have to go to Equity Master or Bloomberg or to Money Control and get the data from there, right? But what I can do here is I have a stock written here in B2. I want to convert that into a stock data type. So we go to data and we have an option, a special data type called stocks. I'm going to select that. Now, Tata Motors is listed not just on the Bombay Stock Exchange, it's listed on NYSE and on the NSE as well. So there is a choice coming here that which of these stock markets do we want to select? So we want to select BSE right now. I select BSE, this is the ticker, which is great. If I want to see further information about Tata, I can just click on this button and I can see all this information about them. But that's not what I want. I want to get a complete log. I just don't want to see one value, right? So what we're going to do here is I will say that I want to see the stock history. What is my stock? Tata Motors. What is the starting date? 1st of January. What is the end date? 1st of April, right? What is the interval? I want to see a monthly change. Do I want to see the header? I don't want to see the header, right? Do I want to see the date? Of course, I want to see the date. Do I want to see the open value? Yes. Do I want to see the close value? Yes. If you notice, you can select your OHLC value. So you have your open, high, low, and close, right? And of course, you have your volume as well. But for now, this is what I'm going to select. And in one click, it gets me the data that we wanted. Now, this is dynamic. So if I change this 1st April into 1st December, you notice that the values change. Very cool, right? But then I also want to extract. So this is just a report, but I haven't done any analysis here, right? What I would like to see is how many of these months, okay, listen carefully, how many of these months have had a change more than a certain number and with an open value more than 100. So if you notice carefully, out of all these values, 4 values are not greater than 100. So I don't want April, May, June, and July. I only want the first 3 months and the last 5 months. Also, if you look at the change, my change is nothing but my close divided by open minus 1. So that tells me that my change is -5, -27, -47, 31. So if you notice carefully, how many of these change is coming more than 0? So if I just say 0%, you notice that there is only 1, 2, 3, and 4. And out of these 4 occurrences, there is only 1 and 2, right, where the open value is also greater than 100. So this is the analytics that I want to do. So the condition I've given you is that the open value has to be more than 100 and the change value has to be more than 0%. Now, of course, you can do it manually by applying sort and filter and all that. But we don't want to do that. We want to make it dynamic, right? Otherwise, why do you want to create a model if it's not dynamic? Now, a little bit of warning. This is going to be a little difficult. So don't be worried if you don't get it the first time. You will have to go back and practice this many times, right? In any case, I'll be sharing the file with you. So if you want to go back and look at my solution, you'll be able to do that. So the first thing I want to do is I will say that equal to F2 colon F13 is, watch carefully, is greater than equal to 100. So what we're doing here is I am comparing 12 values F2 to F13 with a single value, which is 100. Now, because there are 12 values that I'm comparing, obviously I will get 12 results. So it will give me true and false like this. So what is it doing? It is saying is F2 greater than equal to C9, is F3 greater than equal to C9, is F4 greater than equal to C9, right? I hope that makes sense. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I would like to also verify whether the change is greater than 0 or not, right? So we will say equal to, watch carefully, I will say my G2 divided by F2 minus 1. So is this value greater than 0% or not? Again, think about what the answer would be. It will give me false, which makes sense because minus 5% is not greater than 0. But I don't want only one value. I want the entire value, right? So I'm going to select G2 colon G13, and this will be F2 colon F13, right? And you notice we get another series of true and false. And I need to multiply both of them to measure with if both the conditions are coming true or not. But the problem is that this is not dynamic, because tomorrow if I change this to February, if you notice, if I make it February 21, it doesn't get updated, no, because now I have 14 months, but here I only have 12 months because we only selected till 13. We did not select 14 and 15. So that's a bit of a problem, right? I would like it to be dynamic. So what we're going to do here is I will say that, no, I don't want to select F2, F13. I would like Excel to select F2, F13 automatically. That means if I want to select F2, F13, how will I do that? I will say index in my array, which is E2 hash. E2 hash basically means that there is one formula that has been written in E2, which is spilling into multiple rows and multiple columns. And from that, I only want the second column. So what will it give me? It will only give me the second column, which is F2 to F13. If I make a third column, it will only give me third column like this. Now this makes sense, right? Because now I'm getting the column dynamically. So this means that if tomorrow this changes, if this becomes only September, look at the results, they're also changing, right? Okay. Now that we have done this, let's copy this, come back, and then rather than writing F2, F13, I can very smartly say index E2 hash, comma, comma 2. What is the difference? Same result, but it is dynamic. If you notice, if I make it March or 21, look carefully here, everyone. Look how 3 months will get updated. Do you see this? True, true, and true. Very cool, right? That's what we wanted to get. And now I need to multiply this by this one. So I'll just copy the same thing. And then I will put this inside a parentheses, right? And then multiply. But here as well, I want to do the same thing, not G2, G13. We want to write index with a 3 and then index with a 2. I know, like I told you earlier, I know it's getting a little long and complex, but that's okay. We'll be able to go back and try this once. Okay, hold on. And so if you look carefully, let's remove everything else. What is happening right now? you notice that there are only 3 ones coming, right? Look here. There is a 1 coming here, right? There's a 1 coming here, and there's a 1 coming here. What does that signify to you? So we have said we want a value to be greater than or equal to 0. So why is this coming as a 1? Because if you look carefully, my open value was, let me highlight it for you, my open value was greater than 100 and my change was greater than 0. Also, if you look at the last two values, greater than 100 and greater than 0. And these are the only ones among the entire data where the condition is being met. And just to wrap up the example, I now want to sort my month. So I will say, okay, now let me sort my months. What is my month? I will simply write index. This time I only want to take the first, which is my first column with the months in it. And what this will do is it will only tell me, hold on. Let me filter the data. Oh, I'm sorry, not sort the data. Let me filter the data. So if you notice, let me change the format into DDMMYYYY, or let me just put that in the formula itself, right? Okay. This is okay. So what is it telling me right now? It's telling me that if I look at the last, if I look at 12 months, okay? So I'm just putting my end date as 1st of October 2021, okay? And then this is 1st of January 2021, okay? So what is it doing? It's telling me, we don't need all this. Let's remove everything. It's telling me that, okay, Havish, there are, right now, there are 10 months that we're looking at. Out of these 10 months, for my purpose of doing some financial analysis, how many of these months had both the conditions met? The change was more than 0 and the open was more than 100. There were only 6 months. If I say how many times for the change more than 25%, only 1 month had a change more than 25, which is very clear. In the month of January, the change is more than 25% like this. Say 10%, there are 4 months, but if you say the open should be greater than 300, you notice there is no such month where the open was more than 300. If you make it 200, in February, May, and September, the open was more than 200, and there was a change of more than 10% between the open and the closed value at the market. Right? Okay, so that completes a very long first example, right? The other examples are going to be a little easier than this, but then this is how we model, right? So this is what I do on a daily basis. So if you're wondering, Havish, what do you do? You know, when you say that you are enabling clients to become more efficient, when you're telling them that their formulas can become better and you can reduce the errors and you can automate, this is what I get hired to do. Organizations hire me not because they are not getting the results. They are already getting the result, but they want to improve it. They want to improve the performance. They want to improve the computing speed. They want to improve, like I said, you know, the efficiency of the formula. So this is the, typically, this is, at any given point in a day, this is what you would find me doing. Okay. Yeah. Any questions, anyone? Are the participants allowed to unmute themselves?
Actually, there are questions in the chat box.
Are there?
2 questions in the chat box.
I would prefer unmuting. So anyway, doesn't matter. Okay. Let me go through it one by one. Ria, okay, those details I'll send later. When you get the recording, you will have to ask the coordinators. Can I tell the filter function again? Harshita, happy to do that. How is the data of Tata Motors Limited summed up in B2? How is it summed up in B2? See, this is a stock data type, right? So what I've done here is I have gone to data and I have converted that to a stock here, this one, right? If you don't have this feature with you, that means you don't have the latest version of Excel with you, right? Okay, great. And Harshita, can I explain the filter function? Happy to do that. Let me take a simple example. Let us say that I have some numbers here, right? I have 10 numbers ranging from 100 to 200, right? My condition is how many of these numbers are, watch carefully, how many of these numbers are greater than 150. So what will I do? I will say filter out of these numbers, okay, out of B2 to B11, how many of them are greater than 150. So it tells me these are the only 4 numbers that are greater than 150. If I make it 100, all of them are greater than 100. If I say 175, only 2 of them are greater than 175. That is how the filter function works. Right? These functions are called dynamic arrays. So the fact that I'm able to write one formula, but it is giving me multiple results, like in this case, one formula gave me an entire range of results. This is called a dynamic array. Dynamic arrays were launched in 2020, so it's very new. That's why most people don't know about it. But slowly, organizations have started to learn it now, right? And dynamic arrays are amazing because they borrow some things from programming languages, which is that earlier in Excel, you would not have been able to get multiple results with a single formula, but now you can get multiple results with a single formula. This is only available in Microsoft Office 365, right? Ashutosh, how to analyze stock data and make a dashboard? I'm not really going to answer that because of a bunch of reasons. How to analyze stock data is not a checklist, right? So it's not a 10-point list that I can tell you do this, this, this. If it was that simple, then everybody would have done the same thing, right? So it is about your own depth of analysis, your own creativity, your own experience that you have to bring into it. Also, I think there are enough bits of information available on the internet which will tell you how to do that, right? So I'm not going to answer that for these two reasons. I'll just wait for 1 more minute in case there are any pending questions, and then we'll move on to the next example.
Hello, Havish.
Yep.
Riyanka had this question. So she wants to ask, in the student version of MS 365, stock history is not functioning. It is giving blocked error. Is there any other alternative?
No. The student version will not have this. Like I said, you will have to pay 489 rupees per month to get it, right? There are no shortcuts to this, right? You have to pay. You have to pay 4,899 rupees per year or 489 rupees per month for Microsoft 365. Student, office, this trial came free with a laptop. Whatever it is, you will not have this. The only way to get this is to pay for it, right? Let me go to a different example, a very simple 1-minute example to explain to you how dynamic arrays work, right? So what I have is I have a list of customers and I want to create a simple scenario. We do scenario planning in finance, right? So I would like to project what is my expected sales for the next year. So this is my sales for the previous year and I'm expecting that they would at least be a 10% increase. So they would be 10, 12, 14 or 16. Hopefully there will be a 16% increase. Now, the traditional way of doing this would have been to say that equal to $C5 because all my sales values are in column C multiplied by 1 plus $4 because all my targets are in row number 4. So I will write $C5 multiplied by 1 plus D4. It will tell me that 21,000 plus 10% or 21,000 will be 23,100, and then I will have to copy and paste this like this. This is how I have been teaching it to PwC and EY, and I've done over 300 trainings for them for the last 5 years. Now it has changed. Now I don't have to teach this anymore because with dynamic arrays, what we're able to do is, let me take a screenshot of this one so that you can see how much better the new way of doing this is, okay? So this is my old way of doing it that I have been doing for the last 14, 15 years. And now there is a new way of doing it with dynamic arrays. You simply write C5 colon C12 multiplied by 1 plus D4 colon G4. That's it. No dollar sign required. No need to copy paste the formula. One single formula will give you the entire matrix multiplication at the same time. How cool is that? Any questions on this? Anyone? Right, there's not much else for me to tell you. It is only when you practice it on your own that you will get more comfortable with it, because it takes time, right? Because this is not how Excel has ever worked. Dynamic arrays, like I said, were introduced only last year. So it's quite a bit of unlearning and relearning that you have to do, right? Okay. Let me do one more example. Let's do the smaller ones first, then we'll do the bigger ones, okay? This was a problem I did for Adani just last week, okay? Beautiful example, right? Very interesting formula that I wrote for them. Of course, their data set was about 50,000 rows, but I've taken a small sample here. The first thing I need to do is I need to get a list of unique locations. So I will say equal to unique, and it tells me that these are my unique locations, ABC. So far, so good. Now I need to know that how many of these tars are coming in A. So I will say filter. What do I want to filter? I want to filter my tar on the basis of what? On the basis of the location being equal to E3. So if you notice that out of these 13 tars that I have, how many times is A coming? A is only coming 4 times. So it will only give me 4 results like this. Now I need to join these. So I can simply say text join with a comma as a delimiter with no spaces, and it will tell me 1239. So if you notice, this is so cool, right? Let me just make sure to put a $sign here as well. Hold on. If you notice, this is my formula that I've written, everyone. What is it doing? It is telling me that A has 4 tars in it. Now, assuming that something changes, so one of them shifts. So this one is shifting from A to C, just as an example. Just see what happens. The moment I write A becomes C, you notice it shifts. Very cool, right? Like this. If you try to write E3 hash here, because a lot of people say that Havish, why can't I do E3 hash? Like you showed me earlier, it will not work. It's hard to explain why that will not work, but it just will not work, right? You will have to do it manually by copying and pasting it down. Right? Any questions on this? Let's do a chart, okay, just for a change of pace. I want to create a bullet chart here. There will be some formulas, but not too complex, okay? Now, this is my basic chart. If you notice, I will say my BU, and we all create a chart like this. We say for business unit 1, inflow was lesser than the outflow. For BU2, inflow was more than the, but this is not good. I mean, it is not a financial chart, right? This is something a typical Excel user will create, but we want to do something more advanced than this. So just see what I'm going to do. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find out if it is positive or negative. That means pos and negative. And I will also create a baseline, okay? Just watch very carefully. What I'm going to do here is I will say that if my inflow is more than the outflow, then I want to see the inflow. Otherwise, I want to see a blank value, or let's say a 0 value. So you notice that it gives me 0, 120, 0, 70. Why are 3 of them coming as 0? Because the inflow was not more than the outflow. 120 is greater than 100. The same thing I can copy here, and I will this time reverse it like this. I'm also writing the formulas here so that all of you will be able to understand the working as well, okay? And the final thing, and by the way, this is dynamic. So if it becomes 80, you notice it shifts from positive to negative. Now in my baseline, I'm going to keep any number that we want, right? So I'm just going to keep 100 here, or maybe, yeah, 100 is okay. And we will say equal to H2 like this. So if my value changes, then my baseline also changes, right? Like this. Now see what I'm going to do, okay? This is very cool. I'm going to select my complete data, but I don't need the inflow and the outflow. So what I'm going to do is I will only select this part. BU, positive, negative, and baseline, and I will create a chart. It looks very funky right now. Let me make a few changes to it. So on the chart, what we want to do is, I want to right click and go to change chart type. And in change chart type, we will go to combo, and our baseline will be a line, a horizontal line like this. And then our positive and negative numbers, okay, they have to be overlapped. So first let me color them, okay. So I'm going to select the orange one, which is negative, and I'm going to make it red, and the blue one, which is positive, I'm going to color as green, okay. So change chart type, line for the baseline, right? And the final thing that we need to do is, let me now put it on the secondary axis. The final thing that we need to do here is, I would like to overlap these, okay? So I will double click and I will say series overlap is 100%, right? Like this. I'm just making it 90, not the same, like this. So let me try to understand what is happening here, right? So you notice the colors are going to come automatically. That's the best part. So you have made a dynamic chart now. So tomorrow, if my BU2 is not 120 and 80, it's 120 and 140 was the outflow, you notice it becomes red in color automatically. Also, my baseline is in my control. So this number that we have here, this one, right? If I change it to 120 or 60, see, when you're trying to present something to an audience, this is great because you're giving them control over the way they want to show the data, right? Like this. The only problem is I don't like the way this baseline is going up and down. Like I have to change the number manually every time. So now we do a little bit of Visual Basic. So in finance, VBA is very important, right? So you have to do automation. So I will go to developer. If you don't have a developer tab with you, you have to go to file, options, go to customize ribbon, and then select the developer tab. Developer tab has been there since 1993, okay? So it's been there for almost 30 years now. So it is not a new feature, but it is disabled by default because the typical user will never be a developer. So they will not know how to program, but we want to do that. So in the developer tab, I will insert a form control, a very simple one. I will show you right now without coding because otherwise that will take more time. So I'm going to select a scroll bar, okay, this one. And in the scroll bar, we will simply say, right click, format control, and I will say that my current value should be 0, minimum should be 0, maximum should be 120, incremental change should be 10, the page change should also be 10, and the cell link should be that cell, the one which has 80 written in it. So what that means is, now the user can actually click and move it. And it looks so cool, right? Because now you don't really have to have these cells with the values in it. You just show them the chart. So this is how my final data appears, right? Everything else will be hidden, obviously. And this is how the final look is. Of course, I've given you a very silly, simple example, but then you can, like make this as detailed as you want it to be. Any questions on this, anybody? What laptop do I have? Is it good for financial modeling? So I have a gaming laptop with an RTX 2070 Supermax Q, 16 GB of RAM and 8 GB of video RAM. But financial modeling has almost nothing to do with the laptop that you have because financial models don't really need a very fast system. It is more to do with the formulas that you're writing. Speed is not really a problem at all whatsoever. You can literally do financial model on a 10-year-old laptop as well. Right? I'm using Microsoft Office 365. Excel is a part of that, right? Harshita, can I insert hash in the formula where I taught how to calculate sales for future years if we have more number of firm names further? No, not there. Hash can only be used when the results are coming using a dynamic array formula like stock history. You can't put hash anywhere that you want, not possible. Garki, how is it dynamic with the if function? I'm not sure about that. If you can tell me what you mean by that. See, anyway, the idea of this session is not for you to have a hands-on experience, right? It is an eye-opener for you to know, okay, this is what I need to learn. So when tomorrow I'm going to apply for an interview, the interviewer is going to expect me to know these things, right? How do you learn from now is a different question, right? So I'll share some channels with you and some courses with you. I have more than 600 videos on YouTube. But the point is, it's important for you to understand what all comprises in modeling, right? Like I said, this is not a theoretical session. I'm not going to do that. Let me just take one other example on data cleaning. This is again something I do a lot with the Big Four, because when you are analyzing financial statements, not financial statements, but financial records, transaction records, there is a lot of problem because all of these values are jumbled together, and SAP has a habit of doing this. Obviously, what we need to do here is we need to extract the three parts. So if you look carefully, I have the name of the bank, I have a code, which is a number, I have another code, which is an alphanumeric code, right? Like together. And SAP has a habit of doing this. Obviously, what we need to do here is we need to extract the three parts. So if you look carefully, I have the name of the bank, I have a code, which is a number, I have another code, which is an alphanumeric code, right? Like this. And if you scroll down, you notice that some of them don't have a number or some of them don't have a code. So there are different patterns possible. But how exactly am I going to clean it? Okay, please watch. This is very interesting. So I'm going to put this result, okay, with an apostrophe so that it is a text value. And then I will go to data and I will press on the small button called flash fill, Control E. What it does is, in one click, it automatically gives you all the records. How cool is that? No formulas required. Everyone, amazing, right? The pattern is different in every row, but the moment I press Control E, it is able to extract that for me. But now I also need to get the bank name. But interestingly, if you try to get the bank name, you notice that that will not work. So if I do Control E, it's not giving me a correct answer. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to be a little smart. Now I'll have to say that, okay, let me substitute in my original data the old text, which is this part, with a blank. That means only the bank name will be remaining, like this. Okay. So that is how I have now separated, clean my data in two steps. One is using flash fill, which is data and flash fill, and the other is writing a formula. Now, flash fill is very, very powerful. If I can just give you an example. So, not for finance, but everywhere, right? So let's say you have names like this and you want to separate the first name and the last name. I can simply write Darren and press Control E, E for elephant, and I can write Pars and press Control E. How cool is that? Let's say you want to join them. If I want to say d.pars, it will automatically join them. If I want to say d.pars@gmail.com, Control E, it joins them. How cool is that? And if you even want to make it more complex, if you want to say DA, it automatically understands that now you want to pick two letters like this, right? What if you just wanted to say DP? I just wanted to take the initials, DP. It only takes DP for all of them, which is not what we want. So I can train the system. Now I can say PO and it automatically refreshes all my results, right? Like this. This is flash fill, everyone. Flash fill has been around since 2012, so it's not a new feature. It has been there since Excel 2013. It is used. Many people know about it. Many people do not know about it. Even the ones who know about it don't really know how to use it properly. It is a very in-depth tool. So there are a lot of nuances to it, right? So you have to really, I mean, it looks very simple, but when you start to do it yourself, you realize that there's a lot of learning that will come your way, right? Any questions on this, anyone? How is the data dynamic in the bullet chart? The data is dynamic because when I get a new data set for the next month, if my inflow was more than the outflow, then you notice it changes into green color. That's what I meant by dynamic. How can data be dynamic? Data has to be fed by you, right? The output, the chart is going to become dynamic. The colors are going to become dynamic. When should we start financial modeling courses? I don't know, yesterday. I mean, if you are interested in pursuing a career in finance, then you have to study, right? So I have 18 courses on Excel. 2 of them are on Google Sheets, but let's say 16 courses on Excel. So you can imagine how vast Excel is. I have not even covered a lot of topics now, but I want to do that before coming into all this. Just watch this. So I'm going to skip a few examples, right? But I just want to show you the future of Excel. The future of Excel finance is not going to be Visual Basic. What is Visual Basic? So if I ask you right now, how do you convert numbers into words? For example, let's say I have written some numbers here. How do you convert them into words? You will do it manually, right? How else will you do it? So if you notice, I have written my own function on Excel called convert to INR. HMC is for Havisham Consulting, and what it does is it converts into INR. How cool is that? That's it. So simple. It's a function, but this is a program, right? So at the back end, this is obviously coding that has been written. I want to show that to you. So functions and this one, right? So this entire piece that I'm highlighting right now is the code that has been written, right? It's still not over, okay? It is getting over here. So it's about 120 lines of code, which is doing this. And VBA, Visual Basic for Automation, can do many other things for you. This is just one example that I've taken. Let me give you one more, okay? Something that you will all be able to relate to. Hold on. Okay, look at this. I have taken a data set. I think you will like this. I've taken a data set like this, and all I have to do is I click on navigation and I select save as PDF. In one click, look what happens. It saves my selected area as a PDF. Otherwise, you will have to copy it, you will have to paste it on a Word document, or you will have to delete all the rows and columns. Then you will have to save it. You don't have to do any of that. Just one click, save as PDF, right? Let us say that you wanted to change the appearance, right? So I'm clicking on appearance here, and now I can control my Excel file. So I can minimize the ribbon, right? I can hide my ribbon. I can hide my scroll bar. I can hide my sheet tabs. All of this is programming. Obviously, these are not inbuilt options. These are things that I have created, right? But this is not the future of Excel. The future of Excel is something called TypeScript. And all of you who are in finance need to know about this, right? So TypeScript is a language which is created on the platform of JavaScript, which I'm sure all of you have heard of. And this has been developed and is being maintained by Microsoft, right? TypeScript is what is now being used in Excel. You can use JavaScript as well. So you notice that I can actually go to my script lab and code. And inside Excel, I can run API calls like this. Now, you might say, okay, this is all very fancy, but why do we need all this? Can't I just build a formula? Let me show you something which you can't do with the formula, okay? Just watch. Let me take one of the samples. So I am going to take currency converter, okay? And let me take a sample data set. Okay, so what do we have here? We have currency. So let me say INR, and we have USD, and in the other one we have USD, and we have AUD. Okay, like this. And I'm putting today's date as well. Now I would like to do a conversion. I would like to say 5,000 INR in USD is how much? Usually, how would you do it? You will have to go online on Google and do it, but then it is not automated. Look what I can do now. I can just click on convert, and in one click, it is not working. Hold on. Let's see. Wait. hold on, let me just go through the code once. Everything looks okay, but then why is it not working? Let me try one more time. Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's some error that is coming. Let me try to show you a different example. Wait. I will take okay. Let's say create a table. Very simple example. Let me first delete all this. I'm going to click on run, and if you notice, what I'm able to do here is I'm able to create a table, a sample table, using JavaScript or TypeScript. Now the question is, but why is that important? Why can't I just do it manually? Because of the fact that now I can do it in JavaScript and TypeScript, and all of you know that JavaScript is the language of the internet, right? HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. This means that Excel is now not a standalone application. Excel can interface with the cloud. Excel can interface with the internet. I can actually do programming on Excel the way I do it on a website. And that makes Excel 1,000 times more powerful than what it used to be earlier, right? So like now I can have apps in Excel. Like you have apps on iOS and on Android. You can see that. There is a store on Excel called add-ins. Even I have two add-ins here. So I have two add-ins here. So one is called stopwatch. What it does is it allows me to keep a stopwatch like this inside Excel. So when I'm working, I can actually see how much time I've spent on my project. How cool is that? This is not there in Excel by default. And what you see right now, everyone, how have I created it? This is nothing but a web page. So this has been created on like a web page, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, I don't care if you don't have an interest in coding or if you do have an interest in coding, because you have to learn it, right? As simple as that. There is no choice that you have. At the end of the day, you have to understand that the future is coding. The future is automation. So if you say that, but I'm not interested in that area, I don't come from an engineering background, nobody cares. When you're applying to jobs, nobody cares what your background is. I am a non-engineer. I'm a non-IT guy. I'm a commerce student, but I code, right? I have to, because I realized a few years back that I have to figure out how to code because that's the future. And that is exactly what we're seeing everywhere, right? Great. Before you ask your question, I may wrap up. I just want to show you two things. One is this link, which I'll share with you. The other is called the FAST standard, okay? This is what we follow in most organizations. So the FAST standard organization essentially is flexible, appropriate, structured, and transparent. So what they have done is they have given you a lot of standardized guidelines for specifically financial modeling, right? So let me just show you what it looks like. It's a free PDF, okay? So what it tells is, it is about 70 pages. It tells you how to create financial models, right? So if you notice on Excel, right, because all models will be on Excel. So they talk about the smallest of things, like what should be the color, what should be the size, what should be the interlinkages, how do you do calculations, right? I don't want to get into detail here because this will take you some time, but then, right? You should definitely have a look at this, right? For example, we don't follow it blindly, by the way. So you notice that they have said that do not use the offset or the indirect function, but you have to. And every firm that I work with uses offset and indirect, but that's okay. This is what they are suggesting, that we don't feel you should use it. And they've given you a reason. They said that it should not be used because they've said limited circumstances, as there is an interdependency, which is not direct when used in Excel tracing arrows. But then it really depends on the business requirements. So don't follow this like a law. It's not like the general accounting principles that you have to follow it to a T, but then you definitely should go through it once, right? Very important. This is the FAST standard. The other thing that you should do is to deconstruct existing reports. For example, pick up any report. I like to always give this example of iSure, right? So if you look at the iSure financial report, iShares owns Royal Enfield, right? So if you look at the annual report for iShares, I really like the way they prepare it. So please look at this. Okay, this is not what I'm looking at. Annual reports, integrated annual report. Yeah. So I really like it because the report is not just about finance, it is also about the presentation. And see, at the end of the day, even if you're in finance, even if you're in hardcore finance, you have to present your work, right? You have to do stuff like Power BI and data visualization and create a PowerPoint presentation. So it is very important to understand how to present the values. What are the interesting type of charts that you can use, right? Like this. How are the KPIs presented? So look at the way the KPIs have been presented here. The QOQ analysis, the MTD analysis, the business growth, the segment-wise cuts, things like that. Right? So I really like the way iShares prepares its reports. And then of course, from a learning perspective, there's nothing like it. If you just want to read the P&L and the balance sheet and all, you can obviously do that, right? And even to get familiarization with the terminologies, why do you want to go anywhere else? Pick an actual report of an organization, right? And these are all public companies, so you will find them on the internet, right? The next thing I want to show you is the FT visual vocabulary. So Financial Times has created what they call a visual vocabulary, where they talk about different ways of presenting financial data, right? So if you look at hold on. Just give me 10 seconds. Okay. So what you're looking at right now is different types of visualizations specifically for finance, not for marketing, supply chain or anything. So you notice all the types of charts that you're looking at here. So for example, some of them you would know, some of them you would not know. Like we have something called the slope chart. We have the dot strip, we have the lollipop chart. Then for ranking data, we have something called the bump chart, right? So to get familiar with all these classic financial charts, wire and plots, barcode plot, right? This is the link that I would suggest. This is obviously not on Excel. It's on a different tool called Power BI, right? I'm saving all these links with me, so I'll send it to you later. And the last thing I wanted to tell you is that you can always, there's another website called Zebra BI, okay? Zebra BI also tells you specifically for finance how to do reporting from a visualization perspective, right? So if you look at the quality of visuals that they prepare is like the best in the world, and they are IBCS certified. I hope all of you know the IBCS standards. If you don't, read about it, right? And Microsoft uses Zebra BI for its own internal reporting. Think about it. Zebra BI is a service provider. Zebra BI creates visualizations for Excel and Power BI, but Microsoft themselves use it for their internal reporting. That is how amazing these are, right? And there are even templates available that you can look at, right? And there are many, many examples given. Okay, now the final thing I want to show you is that you can search for any report. So for example, I can say EY, just give me 10 seconds. Hello? So where was I? Yeah, you can type the name of any firm and then put the name of any sector. For example, let's say telecom, and then put PDF. And there are hundreds of such reports available on the internet, completely free of cost, right? So if I say EY Telecom PDF, you can notice that I have, okay, maybe a different link. You can see that there's an entire EY report available here. These are the type of reports that they are presenting to their clients and to governments. So it's a great way of understanding how reports are prepared, how charts are created, how the details have been written, right? So all of these things you can learn like this from these reports. So you can search for Big 4 and Big 3. So you can search for EY, PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, BCG, Bain, McKinsey, Accenture, IBM, Oliver Wyman. Then you can search for, your financial firms. You can search for Morgan Stanley. You know where I'm headed with this, right? So all the firms that you are aware of, all the consulting, professional services firms, you can just put the name of that firm, put the name of the sector, and then write PDF next to it. Nothing better than reading an existing report and then trying to deconstruct it to see, how it works and how it works. Right? Okay. Yeah, any questions, anyone? I had a lot of other examples prepared, but it's very difficult to sort of cut short everything into a 1 hour session, but I'm trying to do justice to it. Please let me know, anyone, if you have any questions. Is financial modeling helpful for actuarial science? I'm not really sure if I'm the right person to answer that. I think it's better if you speak to somebody from hardcore finance for that, right? My answer with my limited experience would be yes, not super important, but it is important. More on the visualization side, on the Excel side, not so much on the theoretical side, but you should get a second opinion on it, right? Please suggest courses on financial modeling, Ashi. CFI has a lot of good courses, which is CFI, Corporate Finance Institute. You can look at that. And there is, I also have a lot of courses on financial modeling and Excel modeling, right? So you can go to Havisham Consulting, InstaMojo, right? I have a lot of courses. So because I've been teaching at Big Four for a very long time, all my case studies and examples have been built on top of my learnings, right? Okay. Through VBA, can we make functions that automatically select and work on cells in multiple sheets? Absolutely, you can do that. How are the financial models and apps like Screener created? Prerna, I'm not sure what that is. Let me check. Are you referring to this? What was the question again? How the financial model? No, hold on. When you say how are the financial models created, there is still somebody at the back end who's creating the model, right? The only difference is now they're not doing it on Excel, but they're doing it in coding, right? So that is the code running behind. I'm not sure if any of that will be visible here, but let me see. See, for example, if you look at the web page, again, I don't know how much of JavaScript you guys understand, but you should learn how HTML, CSS, and JavaScript work. At least now I can understand how these buttons and all are working and what they're linking to. So if I look here, I have my 3-year coming here, correct. But yeah, of course, the models and all the calculations you can't see. All of that is something they're handling behind the scene. How would you know that? Not possible. But these are not models, no? These are just simple descriptive presentations, right? This is just the data that is being plotted. Where is the model being created? I don't understand. Sure, maybe this is some simple analysis that is happening. Yeah, these are not models. Don't call them models. Okay, any other question? How to work with Power BI with Excel, and is it worthwhile to get Power BI DA100 certification? Ashutosh, getting the DA100 is an absolute must, but DA100 is a very difficult examination. If you want to do your DA100, you need to spend at least 2 years on Power BI extensively before you give your DA100, right? I have spent 18 years on Excel. I gave my DA100 last year. Of course, I cleared it, but I did not clear it by a very comfortable margin. I just cleared it. It's a very difficult examination. What do I suggest after 12th commerce to get hold of such aspects? Chavi, 12th graduation or somebody with 20 years of experience, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it is your knowledge that matters. For example, now that I'm teaching you, if I had not told you that I'm a commerce student with no coding background, would it have mattered in keeping in mind what I'm teaching you today? Of course not. What matters is, am I able to answer your questions? Am I able to demonstrate good examples, correct? So the point here is that don't look around you and say that other people are not learning if they are a 12th passer. If you want to learn it, go online and learn it. There's nobody stopping you from doing that, right? Harshita, how did I add navigation options in my own tab? This has been done on Visual Basic. Let me just show you. So this tab, okay? This tab has been created on XML, Extensible Markup Language. but all the coding has been done on Visual Basic. This can be done on JavaScript as well, using Visual Studio or VS Code, right? So if you just search for XML, you will understand what XML is, right? Extensible Markup Language. So that is how Excel files work, right? Because Excel files are nothing but a XML schema. At the end of the day, when you say cell A1 has a value in it and a color in it, that is nothing but XML, okay? What else? Yeah, I think I've answered most of the questions, if not all. Yeah. Great. Anything else, anyone? Take a minute, think about it. In the meantime, I'll also share my YouTube channel with you. I have a lot of videos, everything from 60-second videos to 12-hour lectures. I would not say specifically on financial modeling, but then it covers a lot of financial aspects, right? So definitely you'll find stuff that is useful, right? But yeah, if you're expecting that it's going to be hardcore financial modeling, no. But then this is what 80% of financial modeling is, right? But I'm not going to get into theory in any of my lectures. I will not get into the theoretical aspects. It will only be from the formula technical aspect, how to build the formula, how to write code, things like that. Great. Anything else?
Sir?
Yeah.
It's kind of a silly question, but it's like important for me. If you had to choose just a few functions which you use the most, and they're also not like very simple, like you have to learn how to use those functions, which ones would they be?
Writing it on the chat window. Index match, indirect, offset, sequence, X lookup, then filter, sort by, let me think, cell, and yeah, I think if you learn these, I think that's a good starting point, right? Ria, what is VLOOKUP? VLOOKUP is the third most used function in Excel in the world, which is saying a lot, right? Because more than 75 crore, 750 million people in the world work on Excel, and VLOOKUP, and there are more than 500 functions in Excel. VLOOKUP is the third most used function. Unfortunately, we don't have the time for that, but you will find this explained in a lot of detail on my channel, so you can have a look at that. In one line, if I have to explain it, VLOOKUP is an extraction. So if you have a master database with 500 names and records in it, and if you only want that one detail, for example, I say that there are 200 students enrolled in my batch, and I know the code of one of those students is 1001. I want to know the name of that person. That is where VLOOKUP will come in handy. VLOOKUP doesn't give you any calculation. VLOOKUP only pulls your result for you. Let me put it like that, right? So it's not really doing any calculation. It's just fetching your data for you from the database, which is sort of what you do in SQL as well, right? There were complete areas that I did not even get a chance to touch upon. One of them is Power Query. So Power Query is a new area in Excel, which is a new language called M. Power Query is a little bit like SQL, where, and this is again meant typically for financial work. So Power Query enables you to extract, transform, and load your data. So this has AI transformations in it, and it can connect to hundreds of data sources. You can connect to big data, SQL Server, right? So I'll share all these links with you. But then, yeah, I mean, it will take time to explain all of these things. And then finally, there's also something called Power Pivot, right? On Excel. Power Pivot is not just for finance. I mean, I guess anybody can use it, but yeah, it is a modeling tool. So obviously you have to use it for financial modeling as well. All these links I'll share with you. Can we use text join with VLOOKUP? Absolutely, Akshay, you can do that. Jyoti, from where can I learn all the finance functions? Just Google it. All the finance functions already available. So finance functions like NPV, IRR, XIRR, right? Everything is available. If you say finance functions on Excel, you'll find, look here, just go to any website. I mean, this is not a complete list. I'll tell you, you can go to Excel Jet, okay? Excel Jet will show you all the financial functions that you need. So you can just search for, let's say NPV, and you can find all the financial functions here. Actually, I'm not sure if they categorized it properly. Let me just see. Financial, right? Like I said, look at this. All the financial functions that are there in Excel, all of them have been explained. Most of these you would not even have heard of, like T-bill yield. You would never have worked on this. You would never even have heard of it, let alone using it, right? exceljet.net. Great. So thank you, everyone. I have to go to another session. I have a meeting another session. I have a meeting starting at 8. But I hope they were. That's okay. Any questions you have, you can route it through the team, and you can reach me on LinkedIn. Right? I'm always available. So any questions you have, just put it to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to come back to you. Just a minute. I'll just share my link with you. Okay. Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.